doing it 5 years and, opening your own business, what kind of led to that or made you decide to do that? Because I feel like that's a quick turnaround. Not that it's a bad thing, but it's just, that's something that you decided on early on.
So my dad's always been kind of like an entrepreneur. He runs his own business, his own agency. And so growing up, we also did, he had a shaved ice business that we did for snow cones and stuff at events. So I would go with him, work those. And that's how you learn the fundamentals of running a business. So I think from a kid, seeing that from him, I was like, man, I don't want to work for somebody for the long haul. I want to work for myself. I always wanted to do better. And no matter what company you're at, you can come up with ideas to do things better. And it may get received well, it may not. They probably just brush it over the shoulder, you know what I mean? So, and being a guy that's younger, you always ask questions and you don't know, you don't know if it's a good question or not. And that's the thing that too, I think is important. I asked as many questions as I could. At least I felt just to learn things.
You're gonna run into gatekeepers, but you need to keep asking those questions. That's the most important part.
Exactly. Because you're gonna find one who's willing to be like, all right, I'll share it.
But you would get surprised or shocked when somebody was actually nice to you and kind of helped you. So I hope that's different now, right? I hope we can kind of help each other out going forward because there's work for everybody. There's room. We need people. Hola, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Reliable Trades podcast. I'm your host, Adrian, and I'm an HVAC business owner here in South Texas. Plenty of good conversations to be had with good people and a lot of good stories that maybe you would relate to. And if you're listening to this on Spotify, Apple Podcast, any other location, please leave us a review. We hope to earn those 5 stars, and I really have fun doing this podcast. I appreciate everybody that watches or listens and makes this what it is. I also want to thank our sponsors that help keep this thing going. Jobber is our favorite CRM. I've tried different ones until finding Jobber that kind of controls the chaos that it is running a business and still being in the field and trying to get all the billing, quoting, submitting everything that you need to do outside of the field. And with Jobber, we do our maintenance contracts, we do our invoicing, our quoting, following up with customers to get reviews. That has helped our business a lot. So check out Jobber for yourself, see if it helps your business. You get a 2-week free trial and a special discount if you use the link down below. Vito Pro Pack is also a supporter, and I can tell you right now, even though I see a bunch of competitors coming into the field, they are still hands down the best tool bags that you can buy. You won't want to use any other tool bag. And the thing is, they have so many products now that you can find the one that is perfect for you. So make sure to check out Vito Pro Pack at your supply house or go to vitopropack.com. True Tech Tools has a lot of their stuff as well. Go check out their website to make sure that you can find the perfect bag for yourself. You won't regret it. Diversitech is probably in a lot of y'all's vans. I have almost something from all of those brands in my van ever since we've started. Packard is a big one for us as far as parts. They usually have something that we would need on a day-to-day basis. They are your one-stop shop for everything HVAC, and they have you covered for your everyday HVAC needs. Today's episode is also brought to you by Resideo. Pro IQ Services is your edge on every customer call. It's available on Honeywell Home smart thermostats and designed to help HVAC pros turn everyday installs and customer calls into lasting business relationships. From branded visibility and remote configuration and controlled custom system alerts, it's a full-service device that helps pros streamline labor, increase customer loyalty, and generate leads. For more information, please check out resideo.com/proiq. All right, man. How are you? How's everything? How's life?
Not bad. Getting busier now that he's here, for us at least. So can't complain. The books are filling up.
Man, I appreciate you taking the time. I know we've talked back and forth a little bit, and I've been seeing you with your business and all that. Really cool to see, and the videos that you started to put out there. I know you're kind of new to the content and YouTube and all that, but we've seen you in the chats and we've seen you here and there. But for anybody listening, can you give us a quick intro, who you are, and kind of the work that you do?
Yeah. So I'm Hunter Hall, and I named my company HallsHVAC just after my last name. Obviously, it's Hall's Heating and Air Conditioning. But yeah, I've been in the trade for this will be going on my fifth year, and I do mainly residential work. I've done some light commercial, but I'm kind of right now. I'm kind of just honing on the residential first, and I'll probably end up jumping back into light commercial here soon. But yeah, that's me.
So you said fifth year, like in the HVAC altogether?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yep.
how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
So I turned 25 last October. So yeah,
Okay, cool.
I'm on
And
the
that is
younger
around the
side, I guess.
time. Well, like obviously, I work for my dad, but he doesn't do HVAC. I got my license right around my mid 20s as well. And I back in the day, that wasn't really common. I know it is a lot more now. So like where you see all these young business owners, which is great to see. I just hope that they know what they're getting into, and I know you've lived it, yourself. So that's what I did in my mid 20s. It took me a while to kind of get or take it seriously. But did you do any of this? What does your dad do? Like, is this something that you guys have in the
So
family, or is this something new to you?
yeah, so it's funny. My dad does not do anything like this. He's a sales rep for like different manufacturers. So he's kind of like
Oh,
the middleman between like showrooms and stuff like that. He's the one who pushed me eventually like towards HVAC and stuff like that in general because and so his dad was a plumber and I kind of dabbled in that in high school with a plumber that I knew. I worked with him during the summers and a good bit. And then um I also worked with an electrician as well. This is all before I got into landed finally in HVAC. But my other grandfather was a mechanic, so I've got two grandpas that were like, turning wrenches and getting kind of dirty and stuff like that. But yeah, my dad's a sales rep, and he, after high school, he kind of was like, man, you should really like look into some trades, like specifically HVAC, because his buddy ran a company in Florida, I think near the Panhandle or something like that. And so I found a company local that was just willing to hire with like zero HVAC experience, but the plumbing experience that I had for a while, and then the electrical work, like it flowed so well, obviously into HVAC for residential specifically because
oh yeah.
you're touching a lot of the same stuff. And so that helped me kind of get ahead at my first company that I worked at, and I was pretty quickly up to a lead install, and then we kind of went on from there. But yeah.
So, doing it 5 years and, opening your own business, what
Yeah.
kind of led to that or made you decide to do that? Because I feel like that's a quick turnaround. Not that it's a bad thing, but it's just,
Yeah.
that's something that you decided on early on.
Yeah, so definitely. So I guess it goes back to like when I was younger too. So my dad's always been kind of like an entrepreneur, and he runs his own business, his own agency. And so growing up, I was able to. He had we also did like he had a shaved ice business that we did for snow cones and stuff at events. So I would go with him, work those, and like that's how you learn the fundamentals of like running a business. So I think from a kid, seeing that from him, I was like, man, like I don't want to work for somebody for the long haul. I want to work for myself. And so that's kind of what instilled that into me. And then, yeah, I think 5 years, it obviously is a quick turnaround, but the first company I started at, they had a lot of guys that were super, super seasoned, like guys that were all in their 50s and stuff like that. And so you learn stuff from them. And luckily they were doing it the right way. Like they were super good people. And so that helped me kind of just like pick up stuff really quick, especially with the experience that I had just doing like plumbing and electrical stuff. But my goal was always to run my own business because that's just I always wanted to do better. And like no matter what company you're at, you can come up with ideas to do things better. And like it may get received well, it may not. They probably just brush it over the shoulder, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
and being a guy that's like younger, you always ask questions and you don't know if it's a good question or not. And that's the thing that too I think is important. Like, I asked as many questions as I could. At least I felt like
Hmm.
just to learn things because if you don't, there's people that get stuck in the same routine, the same habit with that. So, but yeah, that's a long answer to your question.
No, that's awesome. And yeah, like I grew up around a lot of entrepreneurship relatives and friends and family. So I would see it. My dad used to be an electrician, then he got his opportunity in food service and kind of ran that business and made it, in my opinion, and a lot of other people that used to work for him, he kind of made it what it is today. And it's a competitor to us, but we actually buy our parts from them because they have a really good parts division for like the hot side, the hot food. He has friends there. We still get hookups here and there, but it was his dream to start a business. So like that's where I kind of fell into. And that's why I ask people, only because I'm curious about the other side of it. Because when I went to trade school, I also thought everybody's end goal is to run a business or, open up their own business. And I realized that some guys just get paid really well and get benefits and, they want to work overtime and all that stuff, right? That's what they want. That's what they get. They get a lot of money. Getting into it in the beginning, I really liked clocking in, clocking out. It wasn't my business, right? My dad pushed it on me a few times and I was like, I kind of don't want to. I just want to like go out, right? So I had that mindset and then it kind of flipped, a few years in when I got comfortable and I was able to be like, okay, I want to get my license. I want to do this. I want to do that. I say that like I had a choice. I mean, my dad wanted an HVAC division because I started as a helper for him. And I was like, yeah, I guess I have to get my license. I guess I have to, really take it serious. Kind of just fell into it myself. And it's been a great decision. I mean, I love it. Now I'm on the other side, hiring
It's
and
paid
kind
off.
of, yeah, for sure. I need to do some kind of follow-up videos because I get questions a lot about how I run things. And I mean, in this episode, I kind of want to go over some business stuff too, but like the way I run my business and my dad lets me do, he always says that it's like 50-50. And obviously I have a brother, so like he has input too. I've always stepped up to take the initiative. Like, okay, it is half my business. I gotta take it serious. And he's always game for anything that I suggest. And he's like in that semi-retirement stage where he's like, you know what,
Yeah.
just do whatever you want. We added like our CRM. We never had that before. We added some little AI receptionist stuff and the website, the online marketing. That's all stuff that he never wanted or never did. So I've been able to implement that. And I get questions on it all the time. I'm like, bottom line is I run this business the way I want to be able to live a life that is comfortable, right? Pay, we make enough money, but I get free time. I'm pretty sure that's a lot of the new generation's incentive too, is like, they don't want to work 24/7. It's a little different from old school because my dad's still out there. I'm trying to get him out of the field. And I'm like, I would like to be out of the field and kind of help train and get the other guys up to speed, which they're doing great. So, kudos to them. And we have a good team now, but I miss working. I know you can't do both. It's hard to do both and you can only do it for so long until you start growing and kind of taking that next step. So you don't live to work, you work to live, right? You need to reap those benefits of having your own business because then what is it for,
Yeah, I agree. It's funny you mentioned that too because you said you got your license in like your mid-20s and
25, 26.
I think I remember, you made a video about it, right? Like your process of like getting a license. So I remember watching that first video. Literally, I was like probably 3 months fresh into like HVAC in general. I was like, bro, I saw that video. I was like, dude, this is what's up. Like, I was like, this guy's literally doing what I'm trying to do. And I was like, all right, let me just watch. That's how I found your channel originally. Like it was the very beginning when I got into HVAC because I just tried to stay in the loop on stuff like, when I was working, trying to get ahead of some things. But yeah, that's awesome. It's funny because you say like and you mentioned people like some people get paid well, but the crazy thing is like at one of the companies I worked at, you had all these super seasoned guys that their knowledge was like invaluable and they weren't getting paid a lot of money and they didn't know because they've simply like never even explored
Oh
other
yeah.
options. And that's what tore me up. I'm like, dude, you could be running your own company right now. There's one guy that he was our install manager. His name was Gilbert Cribb. And he like that dude has seen it all, done it all. And I'm like, man, you could be running your own company by now. And he's like, he's like, I don't have the energy or like the drive to want to do it. He's like, I just,
Yeah.
he's enjoyed, like you said, clocking in, clocking out, and that's your job,
And well, now that we're hiring, I've also had to, and I've done it before because I know what everybody's like strengths are and what they're good at. And my dad runs things one way where it's like he has expectations and he has this and that, but he has compassion. He always would check on us and help us out, and everything that a good boss should do. But the way I'm coming in and looking at it is I like to see the personality, the traits, how they work and what they're good at so that I can kind of help them excel in those areas, right? So like you don't want to put someone that's really good at installs on service unless they want to learn that, right? But like you kind of keep them to what they do best and allow them to learn and expand like here and there, and then like they can make the switch if they want to. But I'm seeing that with, the crew that we have right now. Like, there's one guy that really good at learning. He's like a sponge with everything. He's a little bit older, and he's the one that I want like on the real tedious calls, the real like intermittent calls, because he's gonna go through tech support and go through everything and take it apart and figure it out. He's really good at figuring things out, but it takes him some time. We have another guy that we hired who is very creative, and he works on cars. He works on, like, he's done other jobs like that. He goes out to any call and he like makes it look super nice, and like a lot of custom work. And then he did a walk-in box
Yeah.
like a week later by himself, and it came out super nice. I was like, yeah, so we want that guy on the creative, custom work, get things done quickly and get in and out. And we want the other guy for like the intermittent issues, the tech support
Yeah.
issues and stuff like that. And like, they're going to learn obviously to get better over time, but they're kind of both new to this kind of work. So I'm just trying to see what they're good at. My brother's really OCD. I told him, you're our head of the maintenance department right now, right? Because we have so much of it. So managing and running a business is very different. We do have a senior tech who I love that he's here. He gets everything done, and he'll get it fixed, and he's really good with the customers. So he's one of those guys that he's told us plenty of times he never wants to run his own thing. He's like, that's a lot of headaches. It's a lot of this stress. Like, I'm not dealing with it. Right. So he's one of those guys. And to me, he's very valuable. So he's another old school guy. I'm trying to tell him, I can get you out of the field a little bit if you're willing just to train and supervise and maybe be the middleman for customers, because they really do like him. He's really chatty. So like, trying to get him into other roles in our company, because I don't want him on a rooftop out of breath, and because he even had fractured a rib right before he started working for us, or broke it, and he went through COVID and he got really sick at one point. So he's not what he used to be, and it's not a bad thing. It's just, you can transition to other roles too.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's running a business is not like, it's not for everybody. Like you said, some people just don't.
No.
They don't want to. And I will say, like, he's right. There are a lot of headaches and things like that with running a business, and that's something that I knew going into it. But I was like, man, it's worth it to me. Like you said, like for me, my biggest goal is starting a business is to have a schedule where I can control, right? Like I can choose when I'm working or not, basically. And then to a certain extent, like when it's summer and we got calls on it, I'm working. But like I want to be there for I've got a daughter on the way now. She's due in June. That's our first kid. I want to be available for that. Like I want to be able to somewhat schedule around, obviously, and do things that I can be available for to help with the baby and stuff like that, which I'm still trying to figure out, like how to get some people to pick up calls for me for at least like a week while I help her with the babies. It's a lot of moving parts, man. You gotta be a jack of all trades if you're gonna run a business, because you don't have a choice if you're going all in.
No, you don't. I was actually going to ask. So, congrats on that. I think y'all had the baby shower this weekend too. You had a lot going on.
Yeah. Yesterday we had the baby shower. Her family's all from Colombia. And so like her dad's white, her mom's from Colombia. So we got both sides on that side of the family. But like, they like doing parties and stuff like that. So
I know.
I'm coming from a regular old white family. I'm like, bro, we don't do stuff like this. Even when I was dating her, I was like, this is so different. Like, it's not what we do. But it's good. But yeah, you know how it goes. Like I know that you're aware of it.
We have the culture here, because
oh yeah.
And I miss it, because like not all my family or relatives are with us anymore. Like there used to be a barbecue or a party like every weekend just to get all the cousins together, all the uncles and aunts, and it was great. And even here living with my girlfriend, like her family is very like that. So like for every little occasion or anything, it's like, let's throw a barbecue party and have some good food
on the grill. Everybody's coming over. There's a speaker going. Like so her grandparents have a small pool, and so like most days when I'm done running calls, like I'm popping by the house to get dinner, because like they're usually out there for the summer because the kids aren't in school, and so like it's fun. But yeah, it's definitely.
See, and like me and my girlfriend missed that, because growing up we were used to that. Now, like I said, like on both sides, the ones that would actually like throw the parties are not with us anymore, unfortunately. So family falls apart, stuff happens. I was always trying to be the one to reconnect and keep in touch, because I have my son, and everybody has cousins now, or kids now, and all the cousins and everything. So family's always been important to me. When I moved in here and, she has her daughter, I have my son, they got along, best friends. That's been great. We started doing this weekly. So that's why I can't do, I don't think it was you. I think it was another one that I was trying to record and they're like, how about Saturday night? That's non-negotiable because my Saturday nights are with the kids outside barbecuing.
That's
They've
right.
held me to it. So now it's an every week tradition and it's something they look forward to every week. And it's because, I can make my own schedule. I can kind of work for that and I get to enjoy it now. I was in your shoes when my son was born because he was born about 5 or 6 years into me doing HVAC and, trying to do more with it because we had employees when we started, lost a lot of money, and then we went to just me and my dad, and then my brother came in. But it was like me and my dad mostly, and then my son was born. And that was the hardest part is going to work because like we were taking anything and everything, trying to build it back up. And that was the hardest part was leaving him every morning, because he's a baby, he's a toddler, like he wants to be with you. I was like, you know what? I'm doing this for him. I'm doing this for a better life, because I was pretty broke at the time too. So a lot of
Yeah.
motivation to do it and to succeed. And the great thing about a trade or HVAC in specifically is you can always find work. So we've had ups and downs, but we always get back up. Like there's no downtime that is gonna break you. And if anybody's struggling, if anybody's, having issues with their business, because I've talked to a ton of guys, I'm like, please just try a little bit harder and it'll work out.
Yeah, definitely. And I like that you created that for your kids, like, because that's obviously the goal. Like, I want to have something where it's like, that's our time. You got that set aside for the week. Usually that's Sundays for me. Like, we'll go to church and we'll go to my parents' house for dinner and stuff like that. So we'll definitely try to, have something like that. So it's cool. That's the goal tonight.
Yeah, and my kids and my daughter, like you can tell when she like really wants to go outside and do everything and get like she's ready to get started, right? Because she'll ask me like around lunchtime, when are we barbecuing? I'm like, yeah, later tonight. I was like, it's not anytime soon. She's like, oh, I want to go out already. So they hold me to it. They hold me accountable to it. I can't skip. I just recently told them because they're 10 and 12. I was like, okay, when you guys are older and you move out, you better be here every weekend for this damn barbecue because then I'm going to hold you
Yes.
to it.
Yes, you gotta be there. Come on. That's the thing. Like you gotta create because like you said, a lot of your families unfortunately like no longer with you. So you gotta create that's what I'm looking forward to as well. Is like creating our own like family environment where we can just kind of start our own tradition, if you will. I guess is the right way to put it. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, man. Obviously, you work hard to get there. I always tell people it's not overnight. Like you said, I mean, being a technician in this trade or getting into the trade is one thing, and then running a business. What I've always said is like you start at the bottom again.
Yeah.
What was it like? Did you leave on good terms when you left to start your own business? And was there any extra motivation to start it, or how did that? Was it
Yeah.
just the right time?
So yeah, so I say I like bounce around at companies, but I really only worked at I guess just two formal HVAC companies. The first company I was at, like I said, they gave me an opportunity, and left on good terms with them. I actually had my brother working with me. We were an install crew, me and my brother. So I got my brother into HVAC. And actually, right now, he's in college in Idaho, and he's actually working with an HVAC company there. And so it totally helped him to be able to work and go to school at the same time, pay for schooling. Yeah. So we left on good terms. So after I left the first company, I had an opportunity at this company they only had really like one HVAC guy, and they had a manager that managed both plumbing and HVAC. So they really were a plumbing company and they've dabbled in HVAC for a while, but went there and it was all commission based at first when I got there, and it stayed that way for me at least until I left. But that is what kind of actually opened my eyes to. I was making really good commission there in my opinion, and I think that's where they kind of screwed up because I was making 30% on commission. And so, there's that side of things where you see how long it takes you to complete a task. Not saying that you rush it, right? But you really want to make sure you take your time and do it right. And you're going to make this X amount of money in a short period of time. So you're changing a blower motor or whatever the case may be. And you're like, man, like I just made a couple $100 in like under an hour. Like it was nothing. And then you start putting that perspective. That just like motivated me to go even more. So I'm like, all right. So I stayed there and their goal was to kind of grow the HVAC division. Ultimately, like they weren't running things the right way, in my opinion. Like
Yeah.
there was just a lot of stuff that was sloppy for the HVAC. I'm like, you guys are never going to grow it. with HVAC wise, like still doing the same things that you're doing. But it also allowed me to meet another really good friend of mine who like I still keep relationship to this day. It's like I'll help him with his job sometimes if he needs it and stuff like that. But yeah, I left on good terms. It was kind of weird though because when I told them that I was leaving, they were like, well, "Where are you going?" I was like, I'm starting my own thing. And they were like, okay. And they were kind of dealing with some things with some plumbers that had kind of created some problems too. So I think they thought that I might have been like going with them because they were starting their own thing. And I'm like, no,
Oh,
I'm not related to them at all. So like when I went to go turn in my van, the owner just kind of was like, hey, like, appreciate you working here. And like that was it. Like that was the only conversation we had. I was like, holy crap, this is crazy. Like y'all are really sour about this. I wasn't trying to burn bridges because I don't believe in burning bridges. Like, no matter what, I want to be on somewhat of good terms, right? But the manager and me still talk all the time. Like, we're good
okay.
friends. But yeah, it still was on good terms. But, yeah.
Well, you never know because I mean it is awkward. I've never had to deal with it personally, so I always tell people like, I mean, like the buddy I told you about worked for a pretty big company here and had to deal with the do not compete and the
Yeah.
they were trying to sue him just for because he was doing his own
Uh,
thing and he's such a good kid because he was also, like I said, he was one of their main techs, one of the main middlemans to talk to customers. He actually trained all the other guys. He would do PowerPoints. Like this kid did everything. And that's why I wanted to hire him, like honestly. And he reminded me of my dad too, because when my dad left his company, everybody, well, not everybody, but like he had already some stuff that he could fall back on because certain hospitals, certain restaurants, they were, and it was funny because like the company he left, it was one of those, we fired him and my dad's like, no, I quit. Like it was a whole like issue, right? Because
yeah. Oh,
they
yeah.
were afraid of him because he was already starting the process of starting his own business because he got tired of being in the office. He wanted to work. So he's like, I can do my own thing. And that was really the only reason. And I think he had, like I said, this dream of owning his own business later with, a family business.
Yeah.
And they were afraid. So that whole scuffle happened. And, I had to go. We just talked about it the other day, me and him. And I was a kid at working at a grocery store and my dad called me, hey, come pick me up. They kicked me out. They locked me out of my van. And he's there out. He had to stand outside. He's like this. And the whole time, so he was embarrassed, right? Because he had to stand outside the building or outside the parking lot somewhere. I can't remember. It's not a big place. Locked out of his van and holding like his box of stuff, right? So I went to go pick him up. I had to pick him up, bring him home. And
Yeah.
he's like, yeah, the whole time I was there, I was just getting like more and more upset and more motivated to, actually get this business off the ground. Cause like he had played with the idea. He had gotten stuff in place, but he had said that he didn't know when to start. He didn't know how to go about it. He didn't know this. And he's like, you know what? They did me a favor. So he just had like
Yeah.
extra motivation when he started. And you mentioned like getting you said it was your brother that was working, you said, are in HVAC now.
At the first company, I was at, I brought him on. Yeah.
So my dad brought two of his brothers into that company that, he had that issue with. And one did car alarms and one did like odd end jobs, carpet, really odd end jobs.
Yeah.
And they learned food service and HVAC because they did both. And now one works for like a school district. He's higher up now. And one of the other ones bounced around and then now is working with us. He's a senior tech. And I keep telling him, I was like, you gave not only me and my brother a career, you gave your brothers a career. And he's hired people that nobody else would hire. Like he's hired guys with criminal past, at his other
Yeah.
job at the other company. And they turn out to be great techs and they run their own businesses now. Like it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Like you give somebody a chance just because he knows who they are when he interviews them and talks to them. And I'm like, you've given so many people like a great career now. So just keep that in mind,
Yeah.
right? Like that's a great thing to do.
Yeah.
I was like, that kind of motivates me to do that now for the guys that came in because like they're not from HVAC and they're learning it pretty quickly.
No, definitely. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, the guy that I worked with at the second company, me and him were like this because like we're the only ones running the calls, and so like we knew what the books looked like. And we're like, dude, like where are you at? Because we'd have to run each other's stuff
Yeah.
sometimes, and so like he became like a very very close friend, and he has a rough past. Like I won't get into it, but he's changed his whole entire life all because of HVAC. It has propelled him into a whole new level. He has bought his mom a home. He's able to buy his mother a home, move her here to Georgia. And it's super impressive because he pays her mortgage and everything. Like he's he's like the epitome of like what you want, like your the American dream, I guess you could say, is like being able to
Yeah.
still come back from that. And you can take guys that you think aren't going to be, they may have had some rough choices in life, but they end up being like phenomenal technicians, or when they go super all in on something, they're pretty good at.
Because it's awkward, right? Like, I don't know if you had to. Did they have to sign off for you to get your license? Like, did you have to deal with that part of it?
Dude, so that's what's so crazy. So I think I mentioned on the chat on one of the HVAC nights pods, I was like, yeah, I'm literally studying right now. So the guy that I'm buying out, he's signing off for me. So I already got him to sign the
Okay.
sheet. Like I have it already done. And like you have to get it notarized and all that. The other company that I work for, the first company, they're willing to sign off for me too. So I'm gonna meet them like within the next week or two, get him to sign it. But the second company that I jumped to, he didn't even have his license. And the license they're
Oh,
using, like that guy's not even involved. And so I can't even get him to sign off on it. So it's been a whole cluster of a problem. So luckily, like we have a close family friend who also has an HVAC license, and I'm gonna provide him some like documentation of the work that we've done so he can see it. He doesn't want to just like sign
that
off on it and be like, yeah,
that's the
I'm
route.
signing off.
That's the route I went, because I get asked that all the time. I'm like, I was like, you really have to have a good relationship with it, with whatever business you have or work for, because there's no way around it. It's an awkward.
That's why you don't
Yeah,
burn
yeah, yeah.
bridges, because you gotta keep them up, because you're gonna need that signature. And when you come back to them and you said screw you or whatever, and they're like, yeah, they're closing the door in your face, they're not giving you a signature. It's just like,
Yeah.
you gotta be strategic with it. I mean,
So like that kid that I mentioned, like he couldn't ask over there, because once they got like wind that he thought about it, like I said, they ended up suing him. So that was out of the question. He was able to work around it with some other, because he did a lot of warranty work and other stuff for businesses, and I think one of them had a license. I think the guy used to do HVAC and then switched over to like something else, and now he hires companies to work on brands. Like there was another way he got in, right? So he got his signature, and I went kind of the route that you were talking about, where I did have somebody that we kind of knew that kind of did have to work for, but not the full time, because I did work for my dad too. And he just needed to see, enough. And then I provided him documents, because I used to work with other senior techs that we had, didn't necessarily have their license, but they worked for a company that did. And I jumped around just to prove that I knew what I was doing and provide the documentation. And then he signed off on it. And then that's how I got into it. So, and then the guy that signed off did residential. So I was like, I can't even, work for him full time. Yeah, because it's not something or it's not stuff that we do. So, any way you can get it, I mean, you have to think about that if you do want to get your license and get into business. Like, it kind of sucks that you're reliant on that, because like you could have a bad fallout, or, something could go south. But yeah, that's the thing you have to think about. And it's just, I've been asked that, so I had to ask you, because like,
that's the thing. I think, you hear the term gatekeeping. I feel like there's some people there's some companies, dude, like it is totally gatekept, at least for like around here. Like I even had kickback from the first company I was at. I was like, hey, like I reached out to the owner and I was like, hey, he's a super good guy. He's two brothers that own the company. I was like, hey, I want to get my license. Would you mind signing off for me? He's like, no, yeah, I'll sign for you. But then he was like, almost kind of like, it's a super hard test and da da da. I'm like, bro, it doesn't bother me. Trust me, it doesn't bother me at all. But yeah, like if you go into this, like to this field, this career, thinking that you want to start your own business, you're already having to think ahead, because you're like, I can't burn bridges if I can help it. If it's something crazy, that's obviously out of circumstances. But that's why I was like, I gotta. And my parents always told me too, growing up, like you don't want to burn bridges. Just if you can help it, like keep them in good context, and you'll be all right. And that's what's ended up paying off for all of this. So yeah.
As long as you're professional or respectful, because I have the same issue with my customers. So I've made videos, because I do commercial. I know you do residential, so I do commercial, and sometimes they have a list of companies that they use, and everybody in my comments is always like, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't work for them. I wouldn't help them out. And I'm like, I can't, like, it's exactly what you said. I can't burn bridges, because what if they call you back and they give you a big contract, or which one of them does? That specific one that I just posted my rant on, have a big maintenance contract with them. Like, I can't. I have guys that rely on paychecks every week.
Oh yeah.
If I'm over here acting stupid and I burn bridges, that is, I forgot. I did the math with Jake one time. I was like, that's over $10,000, $20,000 a year that could go to the guys. Like, I'm not stupid. I was like, I'll do my job, and bite my tongue, but I won't take shit
Exactly.
either.
Hmm.
I've had a couple of near mishaps. It's just you got to
You
control
might just
yourself.
cut. You gotta look at the big picture because you're like, I cannot, like, I got guys that I gotta pay, and that's what like you said, you gotta keep it.
It's like one, and it was the same customer, but it was a different location. There was one that our guys went, and this is where I want to try and pull myself out of the field. Like for you, are you still a one man show, or have you hired anybody?
Yeah, so I run all the service calls myself. But what I changed when I started doing everything on my own is after a little while, I'm like, I can't be running installs every day and running calls. Like you physically won't be able to. I mean, you can run, like I could do
I think
two a
that's the
day.
first.
I used
I
to
think
do
that's the
that.
first thing people do is they start subcontracting the installs once it gets to that point.
Yeah, yeah. And that's what I'm doing right now. And the guys that I'm using, my main lead, my main guy, his name is Carlos. He's from Hidalgo. And so like his English is pretty rough. And so I've been teaching him everything in Spanish, obviously, like because there's no other option. Like he just, So I've been teaching him like the proper way to install systems, or at least the way that I want it done. And
Yeah.
so it's been a learning curve because like he reached out to me one day. He saw me at a supply house and he was like, "Hey, do you need work done?" He texted me, but I could tell that he used like Google Translate to text me. So I just called him and started talking to him. And I was like, "Yeah, like let's, I'll give you a shot. Basically, let's go. I've got an install coming up. Meet me here." And so I think that's the biggest game changer for me is being able to use them. And then like we can run 2 installs a day with him, no problem, because he brings 2 guys with him. And so I pay them and they split it how they want to or whatever. But that's the biggest thing that's been the help for me is I can still run calls while they're installing and I can come back. Most of the time they're done so freaking fast. I can't even go run calls and come back. I just have to stay because we're on to the next one. So like,
Yeah.
but it's been a process of getting through that with them. But yeah, that's the one thing that I would say is worth it is because you need to be able to like figure out how to separate your time because you're like, all right, I've got 4 calls here and I've got an install. Like, there's no way you're gonna, you'll be running till 11 o'clock at night some nights.
Yeah. So like what I was gonna bring up is like there was another location with that same customer that our guys went out to, and again, our guys are new to this industry field, so they're just really good, quick learners, and they've been fixing stuff. So, I'm giving them more
Yeah.
calls, giving them more leeway, and what I eventually want to do, because right now we're kind of in between because there's some budget cuts right now with our customers, so I got to make sure that everything's good before I hire more. I do think I need like 2 more guys at least. It's just been crazy, and what I would like to do is get enough people that I can kind of hang back a little bit to defuse situations or check up on customers or help train and kind of walk them through maybe some stuff that they haven't done yet. I've been trying to help them with installs. So like they've been doing more of the brazing and stuff like that because we had an incident not too long ago and it's already happened like 3 times. So I'm like, okay, I need to start taking a little more control because I don't know what it is, man. Cause like when I started, I don't know if you get the same thing because you're in that age range. When I started, like they take advantage of the kids, right, that work in the field. They push them around or they blame them or anything like that. Like I dealt with that being in my early 20s doing this work, and I would get that look like, this kid's gonna fix it, or where's your boss, your supervisor? I'm like, I am my own boss. I'm gonna fix it. Don't worry about it. And I had to deal with a lot of that crap. And I feel like I see it now with my new guys where they take advantage and they blame them. So they go out to calls, right? And I tell them now, like, please document everything. And if you see something, I was like, nobody else knows what you saw until you bring it to their attention. So like when I get to a call and something's not working, I will pull the manager and be like, hey, I noticed this before I even touch it, before I even do anything. I want you to know. I'm going to take some pictures, whatever it is. Because they went to a walk-in. They were there to clean it, but they're freaking like filthy. Like they've never had maintenance done to them. These are the walk-ins that suck up air through the bottom. And I told them, I was like, once you open those things, they're going to be caked like super bad.
Oh yeah.
So, grateful for them because I don't want to do that kind of work, but they've been doing fantastic, except there was one that was ECM motors. And I guess he had said that it was like dancing around, turned it back on and it quit. I was like, that happens. I get it. This old man wanted to fight over it. Like you broke it. Like it was working before this and that. And I went back to replace it. So he was yelling at me, but every time I walked out the door, right? Like when I had my back and I walked back in the last time, I'm like, who is saying that? Like I was already ready to fight. And then I see it's the old man washing dishes. I'm like, all right, that's just not worth it. It's not worth getting into a fight with the dishwasher.
No, no, not at all. No, but I like that you said that because I like so you said you want to like kind of step back at some point and kind of defuse things. When you're the only one doing everything, like you have to have the mental capacity to do everything because you could have just fought something in the attic. For us, we're in attics, obviously, but you're fighting a blower motor or whatever. It's not sliding in or whatever the case may be. Then something else happens, like, oh, you did this. Now you got to like still professionally handle that situation to the point where you don't want to, you don't lose a customer. You don't want to get sued, whatever the case may be. So yeah, that's funny though. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, those are the different hats. So like running a business, you can be the best technician, the best, at fixing whatever it is, the expert, but you got to learn how to do, I mean, obviously the business side and expenses and everything else and managing that.
Yeah.
And then customer service because it falls on you to talk to the customers. I don't like it myself because I had a call scheduled like last week and I was personally when I've been at my happiest is like just getting my calls and then running out and like enjoying the long drive and just listening to my music or podcast or whatever is on, clear headed, and then get there and fix it and leave. Now it's like last week I scheduled myself some calls that were a little bit further, getting ready to enjoy my energy drink and my long drive, and then my phone is like blowing up. I'm like, I don't want to deal with customers, but you got to answer, right? You still got to talk to them. You still got to deal with it. And that is the one part that was difficult for me. I've had to embrace it. So, I mean, it's not for everybody because I know not everybody wants their phone blowing up and having to take calls all day, all night, weekends. Like I'm on vacation, answering my phone.
Oh my
Like,
gosh, dude.
and I'm like,
Every time, every time the day I'm about to leave, I swear I
yes.
get like 8 calls. Like there would be
Well,
nothing on the board.
AHR, I was on my phone like half of the time because everything was going bad. Like as soon as I left, I'm like, and it wasn't anybody's fault. It was just like these random calls that were coming in.
Yeah, that's how it is for me too. Like even when I went to Orlando last year, because last year was the first time I went. When I tell you my books got flooded, I was like, "It's no way." Like I was like, "All right, I just gotta put them on the board." Luckily, like most people would wait, so it wasn't anything crazy, But yeah, it does that every time.
Some customers don't understand that because we've made that transition from we'll take every call, we'll do everything, quick, and we didn't have the volume that we have right now, but like that was our priority, right? Getting everybody happy and fixed and everything. And I realized now that we need to schedule. So like it took us the last time we bounced back up, which was like the midway point of being open. We've been open like 19 years. Once we bounced back up, I started emphasizing like, well, for one, I put in overtime service charges because my dad didn't believe in that. I was like, yeah, we're getting killed here because we used to work at IHOP and Denny's and they would always call in the middle of the night, always call on the weekends. And I was working every weekend and, I was like, really need them to understand the importance of an emergency versus something that can wait till the next morning. We put that into place, the overtime stuff. Some people cried about it. It's like, dude, you either need it or you don't. Like we'll fix it today or tomorrow. Like we'll get to it,
Yeah.
We've been trying to schedule and be better about that. And that has helped tremendously. I don't get any special treatment. Whatever I use, they use. So our guys have the Ambro torches. Our guys have battery powered pumps. Our guys have everything that I have because if I think it's worth it, then we get them for the team. Yeah, that's always been my thing is like make it easier because I've been in their situation where you're frustrated. You're roping up those torches. You're having to drag them back and forth you're working by yourself. I don't want that for my guys. And I've seen it firsthand too, where you get like burnt out and you start making really dumb mistakes and callbacks and everything. So, that's my whole thing is like, stepping back to not only take care of the business side and help where I can, but also to, make sure everybody has what they need and they're working and they're, being efficient because that helps them, that helps us. And if they look good, they get raises, all that kind of stuff. They get incentivized on that end too.
Yeah. I'm a couple years out, obviously, from that because, I think next year is when I'm going to probably end up hiring my first service technician. And just because I'm still buying out this other company, I'm almost done buying them out. And so it'll free up some more money for me to go ahead and hire somebody. And it'll still probably be somebody on like a 1099. I'm probably not going to not going to be able afford insurance for them or benefits or anything like that yet because we're not there yet. But yeah, like the one thing I really want to try to do, like you said, you mentioned training a lot, which I think is like super key if you're going to create a company. Is the first company that I started at, they literally had tons of furnaces set up in the warehouse in our shop, and they would make you troubleshoot them. Literally, like they would start all the way with like an 80%, and you go all the way up to 96%. They even had the super old, can't remember what brand it was, but they had a steel plate in front of the motor on the furnace, and it's like a little Volkswagen Bug engine inside that furnace. It is so old, and that sucker just is so loud. But they would take the time to literally train once or twice a week. We'd meet in the room. We'd have a training meeting, and we would go over the basics. Like at the start of every spring and summer, we're going over the refrigerant cycle all over again. Refrigeration cycle. You're going through sequence of operations all over again because you got to like keep it fresh, on top of the mind. And that's my goal, is to hopefully be able to have a shop where we can train in house the way that we want it done. And then that way you're kind of like creating that culture of what you want your company. You don't want anything that's just like, you don't want to just send the guys out willy nilly and then they're screwing a bunch of stuff up.
Yeah, so I kind of want to go into like some of the business stuff here. We can kind of interject here, but I have dreams and goals and, things that I want to do too. Eventually, I do want to have some sort of apprentice program, because the number one thing I hear is like nobody wants to hire a kid out of school or,
Yeah.
give them a chance or anything. So like my goal, what are your goals? Like do you want to stay on the smaller side? Do you want to like see where you can take it? We always wanted to stay small. I think recently we were forced just because of the demand to be what I would consider like a medium-sized company. Like I do want to have, I think 10 to 20 at the, like obviously not 20, but like in between 10 to 20. Yeah.
Yeah.
In between. I don't want to be like a super big company. So like I said, I think if we hire two more, we'll be at 10, and then we can kind of see from there where we land. But what is your goal there?
Yeah. So I think kind of along your lines. So you've got 10 techs in the field or 10 total, like on
We
like
have
staff?
7. We have 7 total with me and my dad, and then
Okay.
we have a kid coming in like a month because he's finishing
Gotcha.
high school.
Yeah. Okay. Oh wow, that's pretty cool. Yeah. So I've talked to my dad about it too, because like I bounce ideas off of him and stuff. My dad's like, you could scale this, and what he means by that, I don't think he means like 20 employees. But my goal is there's a thing that I think I've mentioned to you before, but it's like one of my wife's uncles. He started a roofing company from scratch, and he shared this quote with me recently. It was like, stay small enough for long enough, and then soon you'll be big enough. And like you can basically,
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to run as lean as possible right now, just with the situation I'm going through buying this company out. But I think eventually I do want to be able to probably have what I would consider a mid-sized residential company. Probably, 8 guys, something like that would be ideal, unless we're just like, we cannot, we need more. But I'd like to have 1 or 2 install crews and then probably like 3 or 4 service technicians. That would be ideal. That way I can actually focus on the business, because that's really what I want to do, is be able to grow it and create like something solid, and not just, another company that kind of comes and goes. They sell out or
Yeah.
whatever the heck it is. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's the
And
goal.
for me, it's not that I want to do the business side. I understand that it needs to get done because, and we see it firsthand every time. And my dad, it's funny because he'll get after me like, how come the paperwork's behind and our billing and, emails and everything. I'm like, yeah, I ran like 20 calls last week. I was like,
Yeah.
do you want me in or out? I don't know. So he's actually like pushing me now because he's like, when are you buying your truck? Because I had mentioned like if I ever do get out of the field, maybe I'll downsize to a truck. He's like, when you buying a truck? When you getting out of the field? I'm like, not anytime soon. I was like, we don't have enough guys.
Yeah.
So that's what I was saying. I'm trying to figure out how many more we need to get to that
Yeah, for
position.
sure.
And I've had like I said, little goals and things that I would like to do, but it's just like situations are different. So I would love to at some point, like I said, train and have guys, even if they don't stay. I mean, I told my dad, and he's kind of the same way because he was always afraid to commit to employees because we've had the issue of not being able to pay them. That was our first batch of employees. Like we couldn't pay them after a while because it got slow. So, we've dealt with that. That's always a hard part. And everybody that wants to start their own business, I mean, you're going to be doing all the work yourself. You're going to be overwhelmed. My buddy that locally that started his that I talked about sent me a picture that his wife took of him. And he was like eyes half shut, energy drink on the table, I think. He had a ton of invoices in front of him, and it was like late at night. And this guy works every day. He works every weekend. He's working like crazy just to build it up. And that's the reality of doing it by yourself. And then once you start hiring somebody, like, can you afford to, have their paycheck every week? That's the scary part,
Yeah,
right? Fortunately, we're at that point where we can. We're like this year is being ridiculous. Like I can't even explain
that's
it.
good.
Well,
Good.
that's why I'm trying to take advantage. Like, okay, we're growing
Yeah,
at this rate. I think we can do more this year. And I would
yeah,
love to have guys come in because my dad, like I said, he's always afraid to commit. I was like, you know what? Like, if we can just hire people seasonal, they can stay for a year and then maybe get another job or 2 years and bounce. I don't mind. I never want to be that 40, 50 technician company. That would be like so many
that's right.
headaches. So
Yeah,
I'm okay with the revolving door with some of the
yeah,
kids, right? Like, hey, get your start here and then go somewhere else. Like, I don't really care
yeah,
because that was one thing that buddy of mine, like I could not wrap my head around. Like that company is huge, but maybe this is why, right? Like that company is huge. They make millions of dollars. They're everywhere here, but they're so insecure about this kid leaving and starting his own thing. Like who is he to them? Like he's like one person and it's this huge company, right? I've always felt differently. I've always felt like we earned our spot here. We've worked so hard for it. It's not that easy just to be a big business. So, I don't mind making friends with competitors. I don't like work is work, right? There's work for everybody. That's my
same here.
mindset. And I always believe in like, you do good work, you treat people good, like good things will happen to you, right? And that goes back to not burning bridges, making
Yeah.
friends, networking, all that stuff helps, especially when you start a business.
That's the thing is like I'm the same way. I don't want to like I'm always talking to guys at different companies, whether it's at the counter or whatever. And they're recently near me, which it may end up being a good thing for me. And we'll see what happens. But a company came in and bought 4 companies local that have been established in this area for like more than 10 years or 20 years each, like a long time. I think one of them's 35 years. And I'm talking
I
about
wonder
came in
what
and
they're
bought
getting.
all of them. Bought all of them. I don't know, dude. But so I actually have a plumber that I referred for my jobs, like if my customers need plumbing jobs. And so my biggest worry is like I want to trust who I'm referring and I want to know them. So like I met him, the other day. But my aunt and some other family members have used him for years when he was working for one of those companies because they did plumbing and HVAC. And yeah, like he kind of what happened was the big company bought him up. They started pushing all these guys. These are older guys. Several of them are older guys. Pushing them to like sell super hard, and they
Yeah.
just dipped out. They're like, we're not with it. And so they just then it pushed him to start his own thing, which is nice. I've actually been kind of teaching him a little bit on he doesn't know how to like take digital payments and stuff like that. So I've been showing him some stuff that's free so he can like get his feet off the ground with it and like helping him install some stuff on his phone. But no, it's cool because like I think it'll end up being a good thing for us, obviously, because what happened was I've already had a couple of the customers calling around because their prices have went up. And then also
Oh
like
yeah.
some of these people have they do prepaid contracts and with the existing original company. And like something happened in the system where like they're saying that they don't see it in their system, that it's not transferred over. So you got to pay for another contract. So all that has pissed a bunch of people off. And so I'm trying to run some ads right now in the area, like, and get some, it just
Yeah.
like pushes it up, and so that it'll probably pay off. But yeah, yeah.
I've seen that a lot here too, and we see a lot of obviously the refrigeration side, the commercial companies from up north, like Next Tech is here now. They
Oh,
never
yeah.
used to be here. Uh, I forgot the other ones. I
Y'all
know.
have cool sis out there?
I was gonna say I think I've seen a Coolsys van, and
Yeah.
there's another one that is similar to them. I don't know if it's Climate something. Like
Yeah.
all these northern companies that
Oh, yeah.
really didn't stick around here. Like they might come down for like a construction job, like a big Walmart or something, but
Yeah.
they would never run service calls here. And now I see them here. I even see a van that I've been seeing every week, and it's literally says Houston on it. Houston is like 6 hours away from us, and they're in our
Jeez.
area now. And I'm like, okay. Again, there's a lot of work out there. There's a lot of competition. I think it's a good thing to be a small business, right? I mean, your prices can be a little bit better. You can
Yeah.
offer a little more on the quality of work and how you treat your customers. That's always been like a staple for us. And
Yep.
I've had recently just like I had like a Chick-fil-A whoever takes it's like some sort of construction or third party that takes care of like the Chick-fil-A's, and they're like, we really like that you're a family business because we're a family business. And we got to talking and we got some calls from that. And sometimes it's a good thing to be a family business. Now unfortunately, I think those other companies that are buying them up have caught on to that, and they think they pay for their likeness and their name and everything so that they don't have to change the name and they can disguise themselves as a family business, which that is
Yeah.
unfortunate. But I think once you call and you get those prices, you'll realize,
Oh yeah.
what it
You'll
is,
know.
right?
You'll know. Yeah, you coming in and like the first thing out of their mouth is like, "You ever had a UV light?" Is for us like the first thing. It's like the easy thing. Yeah, you need a UV light, or like. But the thing is that's actually different. But like what you mentioned, this company actually came in and bought up all these family-owned businesses, and they changed the name completely. It's a whole new name, and so then
Oh,
people
okay.
were like, "Oh gosh!" So then it was like a fast. For some people, it was a turn off pretty quick. Like they were like,
Yeah.
"No," because they knew what was happening. But yeah, it's funny. I think that will be an unfortunate part of that. They're like you said, they're disguising themselves. And my whole idea with using my last name is I wanted to make a family owned business. And I think there's generally a good reputation with most family owned businesses because, like you're honest, your pricing is usually a lot better than bigger companies. It's more fair. And honestly, what comes with running a bigger company is there's more overhead. So they have to charge more. If they don't charge more, they will not survive. Like there's no other
Right.
option. And I don't want to get to that point with like crazy amount of number of people. But yeah, that's kind of what I've been seeing over in Georgia too. There's a lot of companies that are doing that.
When you started your business, and I feel like, being a family business now is like the cool thing. It's cool again, right? It's an advantage. But how did you have anything in place like from either networking, or did you have to scramble to get customers? Like what was your
Yeah.
start with that as far as like trying to get customers?
Yeah. So the first thing, obviously, kind of like what happens with everybody is they like, oh, so and so just like they do HVAC work now, and then like they would just refer like family friends. I would first start working on family members' houses and like
Okay.
doing maintenances, easy stuff like that. As I went on, I was at that second company that I was at, wasn't really happy. There's a guy that originally he runs his own company local to here where I'm at right now, and he had been doing my grandma's house for years, and he heard that I got into the trade, and he's like, oh, so he reached out to me, and he's like, hey, he basically was moving away. He's trying to sell the company, all his information, like his customer list and stuff like that. But it was a little bit different for him. So like the first time he approached me about it, I wasn't ready because my wife was going through some things health wise. She had some cancer and we were going through that. And so I wasn't ready to like make a leap and buy a company. And so he approached me again, about probably 8 months to a year later. I can't remember exactly. He's like, hey, I'm about to start asking other people, like, you sure you don't want to like entertain this? And so I was like, yeah, let's figure something out. So then from there, the negotiations started. It went back and forth for a while. It was not very quick because from my angle, there was no like service contract set in stone. It was kind of like they call you out. They pay for it for the spring or fall maintenance when they call you out type of thing. So there was a big list of names, and I've gotten a good amount of customers from him. And that's honestly what helped the transition the most. And that's where I feel like I was fortunate and blessed enough for him to reach out to me like that because it's made the transition like far smoother than it could have
Okay.
been just jumping off by yourself. Yeah.
Is that the one that you're currently negotiating still?
So negotiations are done. We've already like signed contract and everything, and I've been working on buying him out. So I'm not gonna say like, I'm not gonna gatekeep this. This is what I've been actually sharing with Jake a little bit, and this is why I think there's some advantages to this for guys they've been in the trade for a while and they're like, okay, I want to try to do something, start my own thing. Is the guy that I'm buying out, he originally wanted like everything up front, right? X amount of dollars up front. And I
Mm.
was like, dude, I'm like 24, or 23 at the time. I was like, I'm not going to pull a loan for $150,000. That's not what I'm going to do. And especially based off the fact that I hadn't even met a single one of his customers, haven't even got my face in the door. So what I did was we negotiated, and this is what took a while to negotiate. Basically, what we came to the conclusion was we got on writing and everything. Any of his leads, his customers, any of the work that I did, we would split the net a certain percentage, and that's how I'm buying him out, and I should be done after this summer. So it'll basically have taken 2 years total time to buy him out and everything with
Oh,
it,
okay.
because that was the thing for me is like, I don't want to just bank off of a what if. I was kind of trying to play it safe and like, there's no service contracts in place. He tells me like he showed me all his books. Like I logged into his books and like he had some really good years before that. But he had dropped some accounts that he didn't have, some commercial ones for like package units and stuff they were replacing. And so that was the biggest thing, is finding out how to both like protect myself and go into this smarter than I could have, versus just taking out a loan and paying this dude off, and then I'm stuck with this loan for X amount of years. I don't know. It's like up in the air. Going off of the net, like paying him off of the net, that has been the game changer, because it allows me to kind of still meet a lot of his customers, obviously, get my face in the door. And a lot of them have all of them have pretty much chose to stick with me. There's a couple that we don't match well for each other, I think, business wise. So I've kind of dropped them and told them, hey, I'd suggest probably calling somebody else. But for the most part, it's paid off, because it's allowed me to kind of work as I go, meet the customers, and then still, buy it. Yeah.
Yeah, that was gonna be my next question. So, buying, and that's something I think Jake, the company that he works for, had done themselves too to get started, and they just rebranded or whatever. So that is another way to get into it, because we did talk about like big companies buying businesses, but you yourself, you might be able to get in there, and basically you're buying like their client list to jumpstart yourself. Now it's not, like you said, it's not guaranteed, but it's something to go off of versus, going out and trying to knock on 1,000 doors and whatnot, which if you don't have anything, that is the way to go. Because I think I had somebody ask me, I had talked one-on-one with somebody recently about, they started a residential company. Yeah. And I was like, have you done door hangers? Have you knocked on doors? He's like, no, not yet. I'm like, dude, you need to hustle in some sort of way, right? And that is the cheapest, easiest way. And I had another guy recently, he's doing commercial, and he's like, how did you get businesses? Do you do door to door like with that too? I'm like, yeah. I was like, when we didn't have work, our customers were stolen. We had bids going on, and someone hired one of our or two of our technicians to be maintenance guys, and we lost that whole account. I was like, well, shit, now we don't have anything. So we've been through some weird things, and to get back into it, yes, we go restaurant to restaurant. It's a little different now because there's a lot of third parties, but like you go restaurant to restaurant, you go to local places, you go to local owners, and hey, do you need your AC service? Do you need anything to be looked at? Get along with them, be personable, and you'll get some calls here and there, but it takes the effort of you going out there. Or, I mean, there's still effort, but if you buy out somebody and you get their client list, you got to go through their clients and see who you can stick with and get some jobs from. So, I mean, there's so much to it when you start, because you had that, my dad had his network where they were basically saying, we didn't care what company it was. We wanted you. So now that you have your own business, can you come with your company to come look at our equipment? So we had a couple of things in place there when we started, because he was personable. He was, always talking to the customer. And that, like I said, that's been a staple for us, is like treating them like family and making sure that they're comfortable with us. And that's what I'm telling my guys right now, is like, I used to get in trouble for not making conversation, because they would tell me that I forgot what they said. Like I wasn't friendly. And I was like, I didn't know I had to be friendly, right? Like I thought I just had to fix whatever you called in. And I was so used to doing commercial, because it would come in through like an email or like a website. It's like, you have this call, this call, this call. So I would just use that. You clock in with the website, do the work, or before you have to call in, do the work, clock out, leave, mark it as fixed, whatever. So technically you didn't have to talk to anybody. And I thought, I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. But like, that wasn't the whole job. You got to do your customer service. So that's a big part of it. That's something I had to learn, because I wasn't good at that part of the job at all.
Yeah. That's something that I think you can, okay. So like the other company I was at, the plumbing company that tried to make HVAC, you can try to train that into people as much as you want. There was some guys that like, you felt like you were talking to just like a bag of like rock.
We have one of each. We have one of each right now. So I already know who to send to certain customers, because they're more chatty. And then the one that is introvert, we can train him up a little bit, but that's just the way he is, right? I mean, you gotta know what you got.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is like to create a successful company. I think what I've noticed, especially from like looking at those other two companies, just working there and kind of being in it, is there's some guys that, like we talked about earlier, they're comfortable doing that, like clocking in, clocking out, getting the work done. And and they'll stick around for like 15, 20, 30 years. Like
Well,
those
yeah.
are the guys you want. That's the bread and butter. Like that is like if you can find guys like that who are like that, I mean, they have their place just as much as anybody else in that company.
Yeah, and that's the one, like, I don't know if he's introverted, but I think he just doesn't, he's not chatty with customers. He's really good at like what he does, like fixing things, and he's doing our hot side right now, doing everything, like all the dirty work, all the stuff that we might not want to do anymore, and he's doing like great work. So I want him to be around like as long as he can, right? He's younger, so I mean it's great to have. But like there was a couple of calls, and this was on our senior tech, because we're trying to give him more responsibility, so he does do a little dispatching and other stuff for us when we're tied up.
Yeah.
And maybe we can't get to things. He sent him to one that I've had issues, not big issues with, but I know the guy is like a hard ass, and he's over your shoulder the whole time, and he's
Yeah.
been there forever, and he gives you a hard time about everything. And then I was like, why did you send him over there? Like they're just gonna butt heads. So sure enough, they did. I had to go diffuse it a little bit. So I mean, like you said, they have their place just like everybody else, but you got to know also your staff and what they're good at, what they're not good at. And I mean, don't hold it against them, but like you help them succeed and kind of guide them to whatever they can be better at. And obviously I'll talk to him. We always have meetings and stuff, and I always bring up little situations like how that could be handled better. Maybe for him, maybe the solution is not to be more chatty, but just to be straightforward and, give these little professional summaries of whatever he did, and just tell them and maybe ask if they're okay and happy with the work, and then dip out. Like you don't have to be there holding a conversation, but maybe have a little script for yourself, like to tell them what happened and if they need anything else or whatever. So that's with him. With our other guys, they're chatty, so they might stick around and, just talk to them about different things. It comes with the job, man. Like HVAC is not easy running a business. Like you have to have different traits or be able to be in uncomfortable situations, which I remember all that stuff, like hard customers, hard places to work at, that comes with the job.
The biggest thing I think, or like the most common thing I guess you could say for residential, is like when you step through a roof on like a really nice house or a
Has that
ceiling
happened to you?
and drywall. Yeah, it happens to everybody in residential. It's like a rite of passage, man. If you don't step through one, you're not doing something right. But no, like luckily I've only stepped through only two. Knock on wood, obviously, because like now it's on me. It's like if we step to a roof, I gotta pay for it. But no, but I had one where it was like a $3 million house, and I stepped through the roof because they had overlapped the plywood on one of the studs, and it was really thin, like that super thin OSB crap. And so you thought it was safe to stand on. Dude, my foot went straight through both of those boards, straight through the drywall, and my foot's
Dang.
hanging out. And I go down there, and luckily I didn't fall through because it was a big house, right? And so the top level where we were in the upstairs system, all the way down, like I could have fell to the first floor. Like it was a big drop. But the customer was chill. Like he was super chill about it. He's like, it happens. And like we had a really good drywall guy that we referred. So you gotta have one of those in your pocket too if you're doing resi, because you need to know somebody that can patch it up. So and make it look good, because then you're dealing with a whole nother headache. But yeah, I've stepped through some roofs or some ceilings. Yeah,
I've seen it. I mean, I don't do residential. I just kind of watch everybody else. And it's funny. I've even seen one. I think a homeowner had just happened to be recording whatever, because everybody does TikTok now. And then all of a sudden you see somebody fall behind them, and it was like an HVAC tech. And they're like, oh,
yeah,
caught it on camera and everything. So yeah, everybody goes through different things. I always bring up not falling through roofs, but like, burning up boards or making a leak worse, or, just making the call worse. And when you got there and like, fuck, I gotta fix it now, like twice as much. But you learn from those, you go forward. And like you said, it happens, and it makes you better.
Gotta roll with it. You gotta be willing to just like keep, like, because you get a bad week and you're like, dude, am I even really wanting to do, like, is this really what I want to do? Like, there's so many times where like when I was first starting out, I'm like, really? Like, do I really enjoy this or no? Because you come to find out pretty quick when you let a smoke genie out of it. Boy, it's one of the guys used to say, just let the smoke genie out of the control board, like you
Yeah.
turn it on and so, you figure it out real quick, like, dang, I just burned up. Yeah.
Yeah, like I recorded yesterday with somebody and they were like, and it was a younger guy that sometimes what you see, because I just ran across a video like trying to debunk, I guess because like HVAC is like trendy right now, right? Trades, because
Yeah, I think
AI,
it is.
because
Yeah.
of the whole AI thing, like, oh, AI can't replace whatever, right?
All these young
Whatever
kids,
trade.
they love put that line on the videos, bro. It's like it's coming through my Facebook reels like every other video. AI can't replace this. I got a job. AI is
Yeah.
not replacing. I'm like, all right, I get it. Like you're on the trend. Okay, I get it.
I and I talk to some of those kids, and sometimes they know that I'm poking fun at them because I'll do it for fun.
Yeah.
So
And it
it's all
doesn't
fun.
work.
And,
And you try, it doesn't work. You're like, what the crap? This is the algorithm just pushes it.
hey, I did it. I did
Uh,
the 20. What is it, like, point of view 20-year-old? Hey, I did it one time and it worked, but everybody
that's
called me out.
good.
I was like, yeah, I know I'm not 20.
Dude, this was so crazy. Like I'm not even trying to get off topic, but I had posted. I've been recording with the Osmo Nano. It's super tiny, so it clips to your hat. And I did a video a couple weeks ago, and I put it into a short, and it was literally me just cleaning out a P trap, like for an air handler. But I kind of clickbaited some people. Like I didn't put the full thing in there, and I chopped it up a bunch. Dude, that thing has like 150,000 views, and I was like, it just went viral overnight. And I've got like 100 and who knows how many comments. You didn't put a trap. You didn't put like a T here. You didn't do that. And so it's funny because like it is trendy because I think that, like you said, and there's nothing wrong with the younger guys getting into it. Like if they can do it at their age, why not? You can create two incomes off of it too. Yeah, that's
Well,
the goal.
you can make fun of whoever you want on the internet, and it's always easier to do it over a keyboard. But where were you at their age, right? Like even yourself, getting into this because it's you by yourself deciding to do your own business. I kind of fell into it because I was a similar age, but I had the benefit of, and this is something I've wanted to talk about, like with because I've been asked to do these business podcasts. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. We just charge and we make money, so we
That's
balance it
right.
out, right?
That's right.
Just take into consideration your expenses and everything. So I have to give my dad credit because like I didn't have to do a loan. I didn't have to do anything crazy. Like he started it, but then me getting into it is like, well, my dad doesn't do HVAC, so he's just looking at me like, hey, we got these school districts, we got these restaurants, you got to do all the work. I'm like, well, I got to
Yeah.
figure it out. So that was my only thing, was learning on the fly, and I never liked to be embarrassed in front of a customer or tell them I can't do something. So that's what drove me to learning more after work, taking trade school seriously. I know one semester I didn't take it seriously. I actually had to go back just for one stupid class that I kept messing around in. So, you live and you learn. That's always the outlook from some of the guys that bounced around and figured it out later, like myself. Like I was like, I wish I had taken it seriously a little bit sooner.
Yeah. I don't think there's a problem with that at all. And I think that for some situations, the kids that are so young getting into it, like you got these guys that are 18 to 20, and I think that is going to help bridge the gap for some kids, even finding out about like the trades being a reality. Because a lot of kids, like there's kids, they're not going to school, they're not going to go to university.
Everybody right now is Googling and searching, because I've heard that from so many of the ones that like are a year in, that they are like searching what is a good career, and HVAC pops up or this and that. Like not a lot of the newer generation is from a family of tradespeople. They're from
Right.
they're like researching what to get into, and trades is popping up, or HVAC in general is popping up, or maybe their parents are like looking into it and they're like, you should try this trade or whatever. That's what I've heard more recently. Whereas like people my age are like, my dad did it or my uncle did it or whatever. So that's the trend that I'm seeing, where it is being pushed. And you do hear about it on social media more now because there's so many content creators. But the video that I was referring to was trying to debunk the only one thing I do have an issue with is telling people that they're going to get rich when they get into the trades, because that is
Yes,
not
I can't stand it.
realistic. You start at the bottom. I'm sure even you, when you started your business, you kind of had to look at yourself and understand that you're not going to make millions of dollars overnight. That comes with time. time and how you want to scale your
Yeah,
business.
it
So
doesn't work that fast. You don't make like $3 million your first.
6 figures is what everybody's promise. And like I've talked to guys and I'm like, you start not at minimum wage, but you start like under $20 an hour. You're not starting at like 30.
No, I think I think you're on it though. That is becoming a thing. Even though HVAC is like right now, like it's just a trendy thing. There's gonna be people that like get into it and it's not for them, and that's fine. And there's certain things that people need to have a degree for to do as a profession. Like that is very much about. But I think there's a lot of kids now considering it at an earlier age because they're like I said, you see these young content creators and they're already pushing out there so fast, which is cool.
Well, hey, I don't want to judge a book by its cover because one of our guys came from nursing and I was already like, he's going to be here for a few days and dip out. And he's one of our better technicians now.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly right.
So I have a middle brother that does not work for us, right? He actually came to work for like one day and then decided, you know what? This is not for me, and he quit. It's not for everybody. I had a cousin too that worked with us and he lasted like maybe like a couple weeks and decided not to do it either. And I thought because he was like a big guy, strong guy, like, but I mean, he wasn't into it either. And now he works, for the city and stuff. Like he does other stuff. It's not for everybody. You're going to have bad days. Like there's no way around it. And that is the hardest part about this trade is the day that you don't know what to do, the day that you can't fix something, the day that a customer rips into you. Those are the hard days. Those are the days where you second guess it and you don't know what to do. But the one thing that I always had, again, my dad, like seeing his work ethic, and he always told me like, if you don't know the answer, you better go find the answer. So that's what he would tell his customers. If I can't fix it, I'll come back, get a manual, call tech support, whatever I need to do. And I'm going to come back and fix it, when I can. We never gave up on anything, but that was always what he instilled in me was like, if you don't know the answer, go find it and get it done. So you're going to have those days. I've had days where it takes me all day to fix one small thing, or it takes me 2 days, and it feels great when you finally get it, but you question yourself that whole day.
Oh yeah, it's like I was talking about earlier. You're like, do I really want to be doing like this? Really what I want to do? Because like the days will test you, and that's the thing too that I tell the young guys is I love that they're getting into it, but I just the kids that are pushing out so early and doing things on their own, you want to have the proper stuff in place to cover yourself because stuff will happen, and so like you just need to make sure your bases are covered, and don't be afraid to ask the questions. Like there's been times where I've been when I was earlier in the trade, and I luckily had guys to refer to, but I was like, I honestly, like I've spent several hours in this job. I even talked to the manager. I'm like, we're going to get a second opinion on this, or I'm going to call tech support, and finally break down and do it. Don't be afraid to like call tech support or, look for options. And I think since I've gotten into HVAC, I think tech support at several of the distributors or the companies, however you want to say it, manufacturers, they've gotten better because there was a time where I remember like the tech support guys, they were hiring were crap. I'm like, this is an awful thing. Like, how can you rely on these companies? Like, seriously, it was a big problem. And I was getting frustrated. I'm like, how are you going to rely on these companies and like swear by their product, represent them, and they don't even have the proper tools in place for you either? It's like, it's hard, like, but yeah.
Like my whole life and anything inside of work, outside of work, like I've never liked relying on anybody. So that's why I try to soak up as much as I can, try to learn as much as I can so that I know that I can get through, most days or, just don't rely on anybody for anything.
Yeah. And
that's why I hated calling tech support. Like you said, it's gotten better. I've talked to some recently, like, dealing with Heatcraft and dealing with, some tech support here and there. And they have been better because back in the day, like I'd call, they would either tell you to leave a message, right, or busy the whole time, and they would call you back like a day later. And I'm like, yeah, I don't need your help anymore. I usually call tech support to get information on the unit, whether it's part numbers, part breakdowns. What was the other one? Like for True, it was like something that was obsolete. And they're like, yeah, we don't use that controller. You need to switch to this other one. And I would have known that if I hadn't called tech support. So like stuff like that. A lot of stuff now is like electronic and programming. So sometimes I need them to or run by them certain programs and make sure that I have it set right, or that somebody else touched it and maybe messed it up and I got to reprogram it. So that's how it is now, but it's gotten a lot better.
Yeah. Like you mentioned with the tech stuff, things are getting, I don't know if you're seeing as much with like refrigeration and like, I don't know how fast it's advancing with that, but like, residential, it's getting pushed pretty quick. Like we've got side discharge is a new wave. Obviously it's a lot more efficient, but you got a lot more pieces involved and a lot more electronic parts of like EVs and thermistors. That's been around in mini splits, but now you're dealing with whole entire, homes. That's why it's important too. Like I've been having to go to several classes recently for different brands just to make sure I'm staying up on like, this is how they're installed. This is the process for them. If we're going that direction, then it's the manufacturers need to have their stuff together too, because when stuff does fail and stuff like that, we've got to, heaven forbid, like you don't know how to troubleshoot that or whatever, you get stuck, you still need to have that. And I'm glad that manufacturer is starting to get better in my opinion.
Yeah, I've talked to a few recently, and they're trying to get field feedback or have guys in the field so that they actually know like what real world problems there are and stuff like that. So that's always good to hear, because in their warehouse in a perfect setting it might work a certain way, and then you go out there, and I got to explain to the customers too, like whoever installs it, that's a big factor in how that unit works, because the duct, the attic space, did they install everything properly? You got to explain to the customer, you got to explain to people, like the scenarios also matter. So, and that's the one thing I've been trying to tell my guys too, is like you go up there and it's like you think it's a bad compressor, you think it's a bad whatever, it's like, did you look at the duct, did you look at this, did you look at little things, airflow, stuff like that. So make sure you know your basics and get through everything. The installation is also a big factor in that.
Yeah, and I think that kind of wraps back what I was saying earlier, like with the younger guys. Our world moves very fast now with social media and like with AI and everything too. Like, make sure you're getting your info from the right resources too, please, for the love of Pete. Like, do not, I think you've talked about this on this podcast too. AI will eventually, we're going to get to a point where it's learned like what it needs. It's going to be sharp, but we're still not there yet. Like I've played with it all the time. I'll give it scenarios. Like I'll give it like screenshots of numbers and stuff like that. See what it will tell me. And there's been some instances where it's dead wrong, some instances where it's right. But like you said, the install. Like you said, you got to explain to them situation. I had a new customer last week that I went to. I go up in the attic, and I'll probably end up making some shorts on this. It'll be on the channel, but I'm talking like chucking a truck special. Like you got your liquid and suction coming to the air handler. And right, like probably 3 feet away, there's just a random 90 there, a 3/8 90 that they just used just to connect. Like they didn't have a coupling or a switcher or something. They just put it there. And so literally your line comes in 90s and then it loops all the way back. It was like so pointless. And there's other stuff too, but I went out there, the unit was flat. It's a 2019 system, like 30 PSI. So I'm like, all right, we need to do a pressure test, give them all this information. And it ended up being that like inside you could see they probably use heat block. It was torched. Like it was so torched. Outside the valve for the suction line, it was leaking. Like they had put a bunch of pipe dope inside the cap. Piped open the cap, cranked it down. Dude, I was like, I already know what happened. Yeah. Oh, I popped that cap and I just heard it instantly. So I still sprayed bubbles on it or whatever. The other person they used, they left the old air handlers in the attic. They didn't take them away. And so they wanted to pay us to take them away. So I had my guy come, we broke them down, took them away. Just a little stuff like that, man. It's like, you got to explain it to the customer or else they're not going to have the knowledge. Sometimes it's your job to educate the homeowner or the customer. Like, they won't know.
And you got to be like, you got to educate, you got to be professional, because, and in my head, and I used to just talk out loud, like I would question everything about that previous company. Like, what the hell are they thinking? But yeah, we've dealt with that too, where we get up to a rooftop and there's like a bunch of compressors laying around and contactors and different things. And we had to go out to do a call just to, collect all that and throw it away.
That's crazy.
I don't try to bash anybody. I just tell the customer, hey, we can clean this up for you or whatever it is. We've been here for over an hour. I don't want to keep you too long.
It's all good.
No, great conversation.
I didn't even know it's been over an hour. No, yeah, I'm cool. Yeah, it's good.
Great conversation about, like, starting up a business, kind of all the ins and outs that we've been able to cover in this episode. Really quick before we get off, are you an analog, digital guy? Have you switched to probes yet?
For service, I'm probes. I'm not throwing gauges on anymore. I'm strictly pros.
Do you keep any gauges on your van?
Yeah. So I actually use a truck. I'm going to make a video. I have a pickup truck.
Oh, yeah.
It's a little bit different. But yeah, I keep them in there just as an extra because I don't want to be like caught with my pants down and like you're screwed on the job. So I still keep them in the truck. Don't get me wrong. They're in there. But like I even made a quick little short a month or two ago that like when I charge with probes too, because that way you can just use the valve. And it's obviously like it's a lightweight setup, but it's a bit. I don't like losing all that. You can get the refrigerant back in the system, but you got to kind of play around with it, obviously. But yeah, I'm probes for the most part.
That is a pet peeve of mine when guys don't purge out the hoses on their manifolds right? So one thing to purge when you're charging so you don't get any air in, like if people, and I know people forget, I used to forget when I was starting out too, right? So now you got air in that system possibly, but also when you're disconnecting your gauges, you got a shit ton of refrigerant in that charging hose and in that high side hose. So if you use, some people don't even have ball valves on, but if you use ball valves, you can kind of close them off and bleed them back into the system, which is what I would prefer instead of just like letting all that out, especially if you're checking a system that didn't have an issue. And then all of a sudden you get a call back that it's like low on charge and you're trying to figure out what happened. So that's why I'm big on probes and, things of that nature. You can use stubbies that are analogs too, but I think probes are the way to go. And you have a backup, maybe an analog set that doesn't require batteries in your van so that you can go back to that if you need to. So
yeah, for sure.
I'm on the probe side. I like to, pull it up, have all my readings, connect everything. I'm trying to get my guys to use probes. One of them,
it's worth the
investment. Yeah, one of our guys is on board, so he's been using them a lot. I'm like, yeah. And our senior tech has been on YouTube a lot. He is just like game for everything new. So I'm like, yeah, I mean, if you want to go that route, that's great.
That's cool. Yeah, I think probes is the way to go. I've been using the field piece ones. I've been looking at some other options because I want to try them out. But honestly, like the field piece probes, this is just me. You have a lot more experience with this because people send you stuff and you can test it and play around with it, but they feel very durable to me and they've lasted a long time. I've changed my gaskets out regularly. The clamps have really never given me issues. I've got like the psychrometers too, and stuff like that. And the manometers, the manometers. And yeah, they feel that they've been good. They've lasted a while. I bought my probes probably 2-3 years ago, and it's the same set. Make sure to clean them out and use change the gaskets out regularly.
That's another thing, like, the maintenance on your tools, right? Like changing out the gaskets, checking them, especially right now, before summer hits, make sure you got everything because you don't want that issue on a job site. And it's funny because I don't think a lot of people know to do that because I see like random posts about somebody talking about it and everybody in the comments is like, I didn't know you could do that. I just buy new hoses every year. And I'm like, you should replace them at some point, but maybe not every year. Just replace the gaskets. You'll be good. I mean, I have hoses that have lasted a good while. No issues, but just maintain them. The field piece ones, I still have mine in the warehouse. I've only torn them up a little bit, like the little black rubber around it.
Yeah, that's the one thing. Yeah.
Other than that, I don't think anything else has happened to them. I throw them in my service bag. I kind of beat them up a little bit. I don't baby any of the stuff that I have. Other brands use plastic, so like I've had issues here and there. I'm actually waiting on the NAVAC ones. I think they'll be here next week, so I can see how those are. Those feel really good, but I think the only thing with those is they're super bulky. You have pros and cons with all of them. I typically tell people field piece is the safe choice because if you buy field piece and you want to get the S-bands, they connect to each other, the scale, you can kind of get into all that. But if you don't have a preference, which I'm actually going through that right now, is like I have a different brand meter, a different brand manifold, different brand, because I'm trying to figure out what I like of each one. I don't necessarily need them to connect to each other anymore. So I mean, it's all preference.
Yeah. If you want to say what's your go-to for like if you're in the field, the pros, which one do you think you would still like? Are you trying out you go to
right now? It is going to be, for me, for what I do, is going to be hard to beat the JB. Well, the only knock on it is the build quality.
Yeah.
If I could kind of mash them all up into one, I think we would have the perfect probe. Like field piece is the one I think that will outlast and kind of be everybody's favorite if they had to try them all out, right? Safe choice, I want to say. The only reason I don't like Testo is because I haven't had them recently, but like people have said that they do turn on in their bag still. Like I remember that was the issue I had because a button comes out and it's just a tap to turn on. So like, I don't think they've ever fixed that. So I think that's the only issue I had with them. That I had them, I returned them, or I think I sold them to buy the field piece. The JBs have the screen, which I do like if I'm just going to walk up and check, right? Yeah. If it's flat or something. And then if I'm in my situation, a lot of customers just want like the unit topped off and we do the leak check at a later time, or, they want to see if they can get a little more time in between the repair. So like the JB ones have the built-in charging port, which not a big deal. If you just carry the charging tee like on your field piece, it's not a big deal. You can just leave it on there. But it was just less one thing to worry about. So I like that it has the charging port on there. The NAVAC one has a lot of promise, but it is the biggest one of the bunch because I like to throw them in my tool bag, so I don't want them taking up a ton of space. The only advantage it has is that it also shows you saturation on the screen. So like if you don't want to pull out your phone, you can kind of quickly look at it. So I still need to see how they work because the app did not work at all when I had them, and I returned them real quick, but it has a lot of promise, right? Our guys have the UEI ones. I will say those are the most unique out of the bunch, but I mean, they do the job, right? It's a small kit. The app is really nice. Do you use the job link or do you prefer Measure Quick?
When I was at my first company, those guys loved Measure Quick. I wasn't on board with it yet, and I think Jim Bergen's a legend in like our industry.
Oh yeah,
he's a legend. I've learned a lot of stuff watching his videos, and he's incredible. But I'm slowly I have Measure Quick. I use both right now. To a short answer to your question, but I do like Field Piece because it's pretty fluid. It's like very fast. It gets everything you need right there. It pops up. But Measure Quick just added something that I saw last week that looks fun to play around with. Like I think they do like a live refrigeration cycle, something you kind of click on. It's interactive, but I think they do a good job. But yeah, I use both. We'll see which one I end up going at long term because I think Measure Quick, obviously you need the subscription to do like the full breakdown and the reports of systems. And I think that's what we'll get to eventually because I'd like to do that. But yeah, I use both.
I use Measure Quick a little more now when they introduced the grid view. I didn't care about the gauge, the what do you call it? The look of it. I
could not stand that. Yeah, I couldn't stand it. I'm not gonna lie.
So I was just used to because I had tried Testo, I had used Field Piece. I liked that everything was just there as a in columns as numbers. You had your PSI, you had your temperature, and then you had your temp clamp, everything like that. Yeah. And then if I deal with 2-stage, if I wanted to hook up anything else or add other probes to it, then it would just be all on the same page. You just scroll a little bit. Whereas like on Measure Quick, you got to swipe, to kind of see everything. If I have psychrometer set up, you got to swipe over a few times, but the grid view has helped a lot. So that's why I'm using it now, because that is the one thing about JB. I really don't care for their app, but
yeah.
And it's weird because it's like it's the same people that made Measure Quick. Like they got them to make the JB app. So they look very similar. Like it doesn't have the grid view. It doesn't have any of those other things, but I need it because I use their micron gauge. So I have to, I have to use that app to use a micron gauge. But that is the one thing. And I'm very particular. That's why when I did the NAVAC review, I was like, their app doesn't even work. I was like, user experience is everything. Cause even with Measure Quick, it didn't work completely. And I was like, I would rather them focus on their own app and have that experience, because that's everybody in the field. We have to use our phones for a lot of these things. It's like we want just a great experience with the tools, right? They just have to work. And what is your favorite or current service bag?
I'm actually testing out a new one. So I used your bag for a hot minute. The one you worked with on the sling. That thing, there's only 2 things I would tweak, and I can talk to you about that later. If inside
they didn't take all my. They didn't take all my.
See, that's why I think they went wrong, probably, because they probably would have a lot better of a bag if they would just listen. It's probably the same stuff that I'm gonna say.
I had a completely different idea for the inside of the bag and the functionality of it.
I'm using one of the bags. It's the hard bottom bag. Is it the MB4B? It's the backpack. It comes with backpack straps, or you can run a sling on it. Hard bottom, square hard bottom.
That one has a doctor style top.
Or is it the 5B? Yeah, just zip. No, zip.
Oh, okay.
Zip right across. So it's a zipper right across. So I'm actually liking that a lot because it allows me to fit my meter and then some other stuff. I wish I had a little bit more organization, but I'm running my probes in the small meter pouch right now. I'm trying that out. So I switched that up for this summer. I'm going to run it this summer to see how it is. But last year, I loved running that. I think MB3 or whatever it was. MB3. I don't know. But with the sling on it, because that buckle is super nice just to undo it and throw it off your back and just clip it right back together.
Yeah, see that first prototype didn't have that.
No, and dude, it's so nice. I think I watched the video you mentioned. Dude, that thing is it's dialed in. If they would change like 2 things, that would be my go-to bag every year.
I appreciate you taking the time, sitting down with us, talking about your journey with starting your business and all that kind of stuff. I love to see it. If there's anything you kind of want to end on, I know we talked a little bit about it, but like your work-life balance, I know that is probably a big thing for you. We did touch on it, but if there's anything you kind of want to end on, being either a new technician or a new business owner, we can kind of end on that.
I think we've touched on a pretty good amount of stuff. I think the one thing is, if you're young getting into it, is you gotta understand that, like you said, it doesn't happen overnight. It's gonna require a lot of effort. But also, if you're at a place where you're learning from other people, I would not don't be afraid to ask questions, because like people think that just because you're asking questions, and there's like some stereotype that it makes you seem dumb or whatever the case may be. But unless you ask those questions, like you won't better yourself a lot of the times as a technician. I think the one thing I would say, if I could like go back in time, is ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask the questions, because that's gonna ultimately just make you better and propel you even more. So yeah.
You're gonna run into gatekeepers, but you need to keep asking those questions. Like that's the most important part.
Exactly. Because you're gonna find one who's willing to be like, all right, yeah, like, yeah, I'll share with you. And that's what you gotta do.
There's work for everybody. There's room. We need people. Like I keep telling, our senior tech and my dad, like, I'm getting up there in age too. Like I don't want to be lugging a compressor across a roof by myself. Like I'd rather have or train and get these other guys some experience and have them, starting to do all this kind of work that we do. It's much needed. So, I'm looking forward to that chapter here with what we're doing. I hope you get to a point where you can kind of get yourself some help and do good things over there.
Yeah, it's coming along. It just takes some time. I'm not trying to rush it. I've got some time.
No, just
So
enjoy it.
set up the
Yeah.
right way. That's what I'm trying to do.
I miss being a small company. I miss being just me and my dad, or just starting out. Like I miss that experience. So before you know it, it's going to be long gone. You're going to be, super busy.
Yeah. Right now, my wife runs the books, and like I'm like already based off like we had a really good year last year, and I was like, you're not gonna be able to do this in the next 4 years. There's no way.
Oh yeah.
With everything that's gonna happen, I'm like, there's no way. It's just too much. She's working too, but yeah.
I'm getting a little afraid this year of that, because it's just spiking up, and I'm like, yeah, we're gonna need help.
Yeah, big time. You're like, this is outside my scope. This is gonna take a lot longer. Like, there's a lot more in depth than I realized.
Yeah, well, that's a good problem to have. But thanks again, man. Everybody watching and listening, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time.